The Congressional Black Caucus is calling on President Biden to rally support for police reform.
Members are expected to discuss potential executive action to back legislative options when they meet with the president later today. The meeting comes just a day after a funeral service for Tyre Nichols. The 29-year-old father died on January 10th, 3 days after a brutal beating by police. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke at the funeral and demanded public safety reform.
I was, as a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it. And we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable.
Joining us now to discuss this is CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hi there, Nikole. So what can we expect out of today's meeting between the Congressional Black Caucus and President Biden? What kind of action are they looking for at this point?
Well, the Congressional Black Caucus is really going to try to use this as an opportunity to encourage and urge the president to use the full strength and power of the White House and his bully pulpit to rally support for police reform in the hopes that some action could come out of that, whether that is executive action or whether that is legislative action. Certainly many members of Congress are hoping for the latter, but obviously realizing the power dynamics in this Congress with Republican-controlled House, a Democratic-controlled Senate, where police reform negotiations collapsed 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. They realized that, it is very difficult political territory. So executive action is something that's on the table as well. But the bottom line is this is about strategizing, trying to figure out next steps to see if some type of meaningful reform can come out of this latest tragedy with Tyre Nichols.
I just want to follow up with you on that, Nikole, because Elaine and I have been talking about how limited actually the power is of the federal government to enact these reforms when policing is handled on a state and local level. Is there federal action that's being considered that might have a national impact?
Well, look, there are a number of ideas that are out there. Ideally, I think the Congressional Black Caucus is hoping to use the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act as a starting point, and that is a measure that, of course, would limit qualified immunity, prevent racial profiling, and, ban excessive use of force, whether that is chokeholds and this whole issue of no-knock warrants. So that to them is kind of the starting line, if you will, but there is acknowledgement that perhaps they may have to pare that back or perhaps offer some more targeted reforms, in terms of executive actions that they are seeking. I think we'll wait and see kind of what comes out of this White House meeting to see what was discussed. But I think it will be a difficult lift no matter how you look at it. I mean, just today you had Senator Tim Scott, who was involved in negotiations, saying that progressives policing plans, are a non-starter in his view, kind of making a veiled reference to that legislation. He has called for something a little narrower in scope and kind of accuses Democrats of not being supportive of his proposal. So, there's a lot of back and forth on this issue. But at the same time, there is a desire on the part of lawmakers in both parties that I have talked to, that what happened to Tyre Nichols is unacceptable and that there should be some kind of change that comes out of it. Whether or not it gets done in this Congress remains to be seen.
That is at least a hopeful note, Nikole. Thanks.
Yeah. Switching gears, let's turn to Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. The House has voted to remove her from the Foreign Affairs Committee over anti-Semitic remarks that she apologized for in 2019. So, Nikole, what happens now?
Well, this vote is taking place today, and, in essence, more than likely, what will happen is that Ilhan Omar will be removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. She gave a very impassioned speech on the House floor saying that this will not silence her, it will not take away her voice, it will only make her be louder and bolder, if you will. And, she said even if she is off of the committee for 2 years, that is not going to stop her from advocating the issues that are of importance to her. But this was a very controversial vote. Many in terms of Republicans pointed to some of Ilhan Omar's past anti-Semitic statements and positions. And while Democrats acknowledged that those were not acceptable, they felt that she had apologized for her actions, and felt if Republicans can seat people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other more conservative members in their caucus to these big committees like Oversight and Judiciary, that it's almost hypocritical to then try to kick someone like, Ilhan Omar off of her panel. So a lot of acrimony over this situation, but, going forward, Ilhan Omar will probably have to look to other committees to take part in terms of how she wants to contribute here on Capitol Hill.
All that happening while we've been on air. All right, Nikole,
Yes.
thank you.
You bet.